Let me make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to the Stop Snitchin podcast.
Yes, sir.
They thought we were gone, but we're not, though. Life is just
back.
so lit.
We are back, man.
That we're here.
We occasionally take like 3-week hiatuses. It's all good, though, man. It's part
You know
of
why?
life.
Because we really do this for the love of the pod. That's why.
Fact.
Everything else that's happening around us will always come back to this moment in the end. And I genuinely get excited because I do miss it.
Hell yeah.
And what people don't understand is it's not like I've seen you in between. I think every time there's an episode to YouTube is basically the last time that I saw you.
Yeah,
so
man.
give the people and me an update, bro. Like, what's going on? I saw you
Where'd you see me at?
I saw you center court Wimbledon. Then you were in the King's Castle.
I wish.
No, it was... what was something? There was some festival or something that you...
BET. Well,
the BET Awards.
BET Awards.
And then...
The Roots Picnic.
The Roots Picnic. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But you know why? What did my mom say?
Don't tell me your mom was there.
No. Hands Up Productions does the interpreting. They are the vendor for ASL.
For every stage? Maybe.
The big ones. You know,
damn.
For the sign language vendor.
Well, damn.
That is that.
That's amazing.
But what she said is, she said something funny. She was like, I guess I never realized it was so big or whatever. Because it wasn't always 2 days and podcasts, right? Like, wasn't it one day and then
this was the first year. This was the first year they incorporated podcasts.
Right.
So usually I think it might have been only one day. But now every platform is doing podcasting in some form.
Right. So she did something where, like, I think I told her that you were doing, you know, like the podcast part of it. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't actually do it. You know, the company does it. Yeah. But she was just kind of like...
she bossed up.
She's bossed up. She was blown away.
I just make the deal.
Yeah, she was blown away by, like, how big it was. I was like, it's a weekend-long music festival.
Yeah, a couple of days.
So I said you were there, and she oh, no, I know why. She was laughing because she was like, oh, my God, that's so funny. Like, Brandon and I are working like the same event. Like, I was like, yeah, man, welcome to the major leagues, bro. This is it.
Circle, man.
It is. And I was like, yeah, he said it, you know, or it looked like it was really cool. I'm sure it was great. Mm-hmm. But she's so funny. She's like, I just can't do it. She's like, because I don't know any of the music. She's like, I just don't know. And being like a performance, like, interpreter, like, that's a specific skill. Like a concert interpreter is different.
This is why we gotta
like,
get her on the pod.
We are gonna have them on the podcast, definitely. We definitely blew the last one, which is on me, so we will get them.
This
on.
Is why, because there's so much that goes into that.
It's super interesting, but yeah. So she was there too, so I knew that's where your paths had crossed.
That's dope. Yeah.
Well, has it only been like 3 weeks though? Really?
Yeah,
it feels like it's been way longer than 3 weeks.
Nah, it's been 3 weeks. It seemed like a lot. I feel like a lot's happened. Obviously, like, you know, you're working a lot. It's
just summertime.
Yeah, summertime. You just got off a big trip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
came back from
fairly recently. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like a month and some change. So it's like things move, man. But I mean, since I've last seen you, I've been to Steve Harvey's house twice.
Oh, you went back?
Yeah,
just to chill.
Well, they're doing business together for their festival. So we ended up going back to his house twice.
Word. Big
moment. He called me B.
Wow.
So that's only how you'll address me ever in life.
You're changing your government name to just B?
It has to happen. It's just one of those moments that's like, damn, that's pretty crazy. Like,
so he like remembered you.
Yeah.
That's
like
awesome.
Because the
that
first
so
day
bad to say, like he's not a human being who would remember someone.
Yeah,
but I feel like
like
Steve Harvey's got to have 1 million people in his face.
That's what I'm saying, man. So it's like he was like, yeah, like you did the camera stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah. And then like after the first day, he was like, all right, B. And I'm like, oh.
You're like, okay, Steve.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I call?
What do you call him? Do you call him Mr. Harvey?
Yeah, Mr. Harvey.
It's definitely a respect.
Yeah, like it's just he's an OG. Like I gotta respect it. But yeah, that was a cool moment. So we were there twice, back-to-back days. So I got to film him another 2 times, which is dope.
Did you get to see more of the crib?
Yeah, well, not the crib. So we've always been in, like, I call it the cigar house because it's like its own house, and it's a cigar room, and then in the basement. So there's actually 3 levels. The first level is
of the cigar house.
Yeah, so there's a cigar room, which is like, think about like Hugh Hefner Playboy vibes, but like fur everywhere, Like the most expensive couches. There's a bar that rises up with like Louis XIII, like, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole cigar bar with like every single type of cigar you can ever imagine. There's cigar lighters everywhere of all shapes and sizes. He literally has a flamethrower that he uses for his cigar. Like, it's literally like a flamethrower almost. Yeah, it's just what money looks like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the highest level. And then on the second floor is a basement full of suits. Just suits. Thousands of suits.
Is he like a cool guy off?
Yo, he's cool.
Like, he's actually like a.
It was
a nice
more
guy?
like he like in that setting he was more of like like, you know, comedian Steve Harvey, like cursing, you know, not Family Feud Steve Harvey,
right?
Like just more of like himself, which his business manager was saying he enjoys that because for so much time of the year he has to be Family Feud Steve Harvey, can't curse, you know, family friendly. But really, he's just...
It is funny, because I think of him as, like, the comedian.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think of Steve Harvey as being,
but
like,
that's what he was saying in the initial interview.
But I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I, like, don't find him funny on Family Feud, but
because
maybe that's not the goal.
Because you know him as like, the comedian.
Right.
But if you didn't, then you would think he's hilarious.
He's, like, daytime television funny. Yeah, right. Which is hard to do. That's not easy, like, back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And that's what his business manager was saying. He was like, anytime that he gets to just chill... like with the homies and just chop it up, like he'll talk for hours because so much of his life is like TV. I gotta be this, I gotta be that. So it's like anytime he has to unwind, it's like he'll just chop
really
it up
unwind.
with you. Yeah, like cool as hell, bro. So yeah, that was cool, man. And then what was I doing? I was in LA for BET Awards, not the actual award show, but like stuff leading up to it. I saw a bunch of people. I saw The Game. The Game is tall, like 6'4", husky as hell,
large ass.
Yeah.
What? Game is probably the scariest. Like,
yeah, he definitely walks around like
that. I feel like I wouldn't. Like, I feel like he's really about the smoke. Yeah. You don't really actually want to mess with him.
He definitely lives up to like what we've seen and heard. You saw Moneybag Yo,
which I do like that song.
Which one?
Oh God.
What, Moneybag?
What am I saying? Or feel what I'm saying?
Saying something. Saying something.
Yeah, saying something. It's wait, hold on.
Yeah, I forgot that song.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Said something. It's called Said Something.
Said something. Mm-hmm. Whatever that is. It is called See What I'm Saying. But regardless, yeah, Moneybag Yo. Okay, and then when was the decision to give me the summertime look right here? Like,
oh man, this was like a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. Like, I do like when I grow my hair out. Because, like, it will curl to a certain extent. So I have to kind of, like, maintain it.
It's funny how as soon as you walked in, I was like, you look so different. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I got so used to you with the cut, with the little Jay-Z, Joe, whatever the thing is. I was like, oh, my God, it's gone.
The scariest part of doing that and then cutting it is, like, you feel like you look so weird at first. So I'm just constantly, like, brushing my hair. But now I'm used to it again. So it's always, like, it takes me, like, a week to like just reacclimate myself to a shorter cut, but then after that I'm pretty good.
Chilling.
Yeah. But nah, it's too hot outside. I can't have a lot of hair.
Bro, it's so hot out.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unfortunately, no cookouts this year.
No cookouts,
no barbecues,
bro.
You know?
It
had some complications.
Wild. It's so crazy, bro. Yeah. Like, how long has this been now? 2 years, like full-blown 2 years with the COVID thing.
Mm-hmm. Still effective.
Still is just running rampant. It's wild. I'm like, how do all of you get it? I'm like, I got it.
I think it's like the flu now, though. It's like
guess.
Some people get it. Some people, like, people are going to continue to get it, but it's kind of just like they're going to treat it like the flu. Yeah. So just stay away from me a couple of days.
So that's why it's actually kind of nice, because I feel like this is the first time in a long time where there's like a holiday, and for whatever reason, I'm just like, I'm still allowed to go do whatever I want because I'm not sick.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I guess I could just like chill. Like, I'm watching Wimbledon all day. I'm like, this is great. I love this. Like, I would want to do this anyway. You know, you're not like running around. I'm like, it's a different kind of relaxing too. But yeah, man, 4th of July, come back around again. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. My little cousins just graduated from high school. Javier and Gabrielle.
They got girlfriends now. They're down the shore.
Right, ladies down the shore, vibing, going to college. I'm like, what is going on?
That is kind of crazy to think about, man.
They're the first ones. I was thinking about them like, wow, they're the first version of like a baby that I remember holding, like changing your diaper essentially, like temper tantrums in the grocery store type stuff. And now you're like
grown,
going away to college. I'm like, what?
Time flies, man. Time flies, but it doesn't. It's like a weird dynamic, like.
I feel
because
like
it has been a long
so
time,
fast.
But it's like it also can go fast. I guess it just depends, man. That's why they tell you to live in the moment as much as possible, even though that's really hard.
Like we get married a year from this month. Next July we'll be married.
Yeah,
isn't that
that's
wild?
Gonna fly by.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
that's gonna fly by. But yeah, that's why I've just been trying to just like soak everything up, man. Like not like even when I go places like. I won't really do like the Instagram stories. I know we talked about that before, but it's just like I just rather be in the moment, just enjoy it. You know,
yours would shit on everybody though.
Huh?
I'm like your stories would be so good though. You should put them on there.
I don't know, man. I never.
But when so much of your life is taken up by doing, like, it's funny how you said what resonates to me about the whole like Steve Harvey remembering you thing is, for him, all he probably ever sees is that product, like is the visual. So I'm sure a real professional like him doesn't undervalue who you are.
Oh, for sure.
Because he knows that as good as the interviewers are, whatever the platform is, if it's not shown in a really good visual way now in this current age, it might as well be worth nothing. Because nobody's going to share it, right? Nobody's going to see it. So that's like a real... I don't know. I think that's like another level for someone as big as him to even like realize and care about. That's really cool that he's like so aware.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of people in that position. They're very like cerebral and aware of everybody in the room. You know what I'm saying?
So they're probably used to evaluating like talent and necessity too. Like, why are you here? Why are you in this room? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Why do you need to be
like
here?
we have to we can't just go to Steve Harvey's house. Like you have to submit your name. They take your ID.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Security at the front.
Yeah.
You know, can't go to this part of the property. Like, like at that level, man. It's like you said though. Like at the end of the day, like everybody works hard and everybody wants to like have peace when they come home. At the end of the day, so it's like 4th of July, you're just chilling this year, but that's perfectly fine because you've been working so hard. Same thing for me. It's like I don't really want to go to any cookouts. I just want to chill because so much of life right now is just working in whatever capacity it is. So you imagine somebody like Steve Harvey, who's just working
always on camera, always in
300 days a year.
Yeah, man.
You know, whenever he does invite you to his house, that's like a sacred thing, and you don't really want to mess that up. So I wouldn't even think about taking out my phone. I didn't even want to. Like, I just wanted to soak up the moment. Like,
you're getting that.
You know what I'm saying? Not everything is meant
to
to be like recorded and stuff like that. You know, so yeah, man, it's dope. It's dope. I think they're gonna interview Ice Cube on the 13th.
Okay.
So that'll be in LA.
Ice
Cube.
It's gonna be an OG moment.
Dope. That's gonna be dope. And then where else am I going this month? Nebraska, Omaha, for the TBT tournament.
Oh, is that where they're playing?
Yeah, they're playing in Omaha, which is cool. Like,
so the TBT tournament, for people who don't know what that is, that's
it's
on ESPN, right?
Yeah, ESPN. So they, if you notice, the last couple of All-Star games, they've ended it in like the Elam ending, where you got to get to a certain point or a certain score. Yeah. So TBT originated that. TBT came out like, I think it started like 7 or 8 years ago at this point, maybe like 6, but.
So it's where you play to the
so after a certain point, after a certain point in the last quarter, like maybe like the 5-minute mark, whatever team is up, they have like it becomes a race to a certain score after that. Instead of just playing until the time runs out, possibly going into overtime, it then becomes just like a race. It's like playing 21, essentially. Okay.
So there is no tie. There's no overtime.
Nah,
someone's going to get to that point.
Somebody's got to get to that point. So it can end on a 3-pointer, it can end on a free throw, like however you got to get there, you can get
It's
there.
like plus something, right? It's like, okay, at this point, if it's 80 to 70, then we play to 95. Yep. And it's like, you can either make a major comeback.
Exactly.
Or if you're up, you should be able to just continue to do what you're doing and put it away.
It makes it exciting. So they originated that. So this will be my 3rd year doing it. Last year we were at Ohio State. And then the year before, well, no, a couple years before, because 2020 was COVID. 2019 we were in North Carolina, and that year they made it to like the finals. So that was in Chicago.
Right.
So that was dope.
Yeah.
So we were in Chicago, and that's when I experienced Summertime Shy. So like when Kanye said it, it was like, what does that mean? But then you see it and you're like,
so
oh,
Nebraska
snap.
though, I don't know
Yeah,
how we feeling about
hyped,
hosting it in Nebraska.
I'm actually hyped because I think Creighton's hosting it, like the university's hosting it.
Is Creighton in Nebraska? Oh, see, I would have never been able to tell you that.
Yeah, so I'm excited, man. I like seeing new places.
Who's on the team? So it's Kyle, right?
Well, Kyle's not playing.
Really?
Yeah, Kyle's chilling.
They just won the championship.
Yeah, they just
in
won
Italy,
the Italian
right?
League. So he just
That's Kyle Hines for people who don't know.
Kyle Hines.
TC alum.
Should know Kyle Hines.
Should know Kyle Hines. Is Tyler playing?
Nah, coaching. So they're all kind of just
Tyler's
like
coaching.
Yeah, Kyle's chilling. He just signed a 2-year extension.
How old is he now?
Kyle, he graduated high school in 2004. So
I mean, he's like
36, 35, 36.
Wow, he just signed another 2-year extension.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome,
and this will probably be it, but I mean, damn.
Talk about a friggin' legacy. I was looking at all of his stats and stuff when they won that. I mean, he's the most winningest American ever in
Europe.
Right, not just Italy, like the whole Euro League.
Yeah, everything.
Was it 4-time champion?
Yeah, 4-time
several
Euro
time.
League. Yeah, it's a lot.
Defensive Player of the Year. It's amazing, man. It's incredible. Really cool.
Really, like, most importantly, like, really humble guy, though, man.
I love it. Every summer I come down and I see all the
they just had that
basketball
this week.
camps.
They just had that this week.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
We're gonna work on the off season, like, not a documentary, but like a series, like 5-minute episodes, kind of detailing, like, you know, the life of an overseas basketball player coming home. You're overseas 10 months of the year, you're home maybe 2 months, a month and a half.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So chronicling that whole thing. So that would be pretty exciting. But eventually his documentary is going to come out, which is like the ultimate thing. Because, I mean...
Does he already have that in the works?
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of footage. And, like, I have a lot of footage. Mike Martin has a lot.
Are you doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a part of it. I don't know, like, who's doing it. But I'll definitely, like, have a little hand in it. So... It's cool, man. Like, it's cool to see history like that, huh?
New cootie.
Oh, yeah. See, like, yo, you know what's interesting is, like, we ran into Cootie a few times, and it's like you know, you see the success of, like, a genius, and you're like, you want these answers from people, but sometimes, like, there's really no answer. Like, he just did what was on his heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's been on panels, and it's like, well, how did you do this, and how did you do that? And he was just like, I just filmed. You know, I just filmed. Yeah. I had a hunch that Kanye was going to be something. Nobody knew he was going to be this, but like something.
Yeah. You hit the lottery with who you picked.
And I just did it. I just did it. There's no rhyme or reason behind it.
Yeah.
And I think that inspired me because it's like sometimes we try to like overanalyze what we do on a day-to-day basis, but sometimes it's just like all I do at the end of the day is I have a camera, I press record, and
try to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and I try to put it together in a cool way. That's really it. There's no, like, you know, extreme science behind it. Even when you're at your job, it's like, you just do it. It's very simple.
I mean, God, I don't feel that way about what I do, but I only think that way because I think it's different when you're responsible for a team of people. Mm-hmm. Like, in his regard... Or maybe in your regard, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you're a team of one. Like, you need to be there and do what you do exceptionally well. If you perform, you will get what you need. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it can't just... Actually, I'm the least important thing. Like, it's more important that all these other people have what they need. Okay. So that requires a tremendous amount of, like, planning. So in your job,
you can't do everything. You can't do every role.
I would immediately fail.
Gotcha.
No shot.
That's interesting.
But one of the toughest things that I had to learn about, like, I guess real, like, team-oriented leadership is, like, I was basically immediately sat down and they were like, so you need to figure out how to basically build a responsibility roster and have you with the only responsibility being making sure everyone else's responsibilities are being done. Mm-hmm. Like, just the follow-up on that and knowing that you're ultimately responsible for everything.
Yeah, it's a tough job.
So it's a different level of, like, kind of like you said, very cerebral. Like, you're kind of just taking in and constantly listening. It's and knowing that every single decision that anybody makes ultimately is my decision, which is a very weird perspective because you're like, the buck always stops with you.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, for me, it's like it is kind of like a solo mission, but there's times where we oversee teams like for bigger things. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like
holding people accountable.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's
very
not
hard.
like what I'm not what I'm used to, but it's like that's why I asked you, could you do everything? And technically, like with what I'm doing, I could do everything. It would be extremely hard, but yeah. I could. You know what I'm saying?
I would say only at the level that I'm at now, the answer is no. But prior, you could, but it's only because I wouldn't ultimately be responsible for it. Like, it would be my decision making, but I could always say like, well, I'm the assistant. You know, like I'm trying to put it all together because someone else isn't here. Yeah. Versus, I mean, you know, like when we came right back from vacation, and then Eli had his baby, healthy baby, which is awesome. Baby Augie. Yeah. Shout out to Augie.
Shout out.
And
Eli's dope.
Yeah, Eli's awesome. And, you know, Deshaun got promoted, which is great. Like, all of these things are things that you want to happen. But then I'm sure you can relate to this. There's certain points that maybe aren't forever, but it's 2 weeks that feels like way longer than 2 weeks where you do put the team on your back and you have to make it happen. And it is yours to lose, where you realize whether or not you can really do it.
Yeah. And
I can. You can, but it's not healthy, right?
Yeah, it's
not advisable. Yeah. Like if I had to do that every day, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
like from your perspective, enterprise, like doing everything would be customer intake, inventory, customer comes
People
in. People
just don't understand like the scale of it. So it's like, so let's say this, right? Like on average, let's say a car's like $30,000, right? So I got like, let's call it 400 cars. It's like $12 million worth of assets that are out just in the world. Right, like you just got to make sure they come back, right? Like, so it's following up with all those customers. Sure, there's customer service, but then there's the whole, you know, just accounting for your business, money, training, development, scheduling. I mean, you know, when a car goes missing, when it's stolen, when it's this, when it's that, like everything comes through there. So I just happen to be at a particularly large location, so there's just a lot more of that, but every manager of their business in my corporation like does the same job. The scale is different, so the size of your team is different, but I always say one, right, it's also a mentality thing. For me, I'm never at any step to be here. Like, this isn't the step that I'm ending on. So I'm always looking for the next step. So if you're working with me, with my team, in my environment, like that also needs to be your motivation. I don't ask for a lot of like-mindedness. I'm totally good at letting go. I'm good at delegating. I'm not a micromanager because I trust you. But the only reason I trust you is because I believe in your values. And your values at the end of the day don't have to ultimately be the same. But I do need to know that you're motivated to take it to the next level, because I'm not training or developing anybody to be with me for more than, 8-9 months.
Quick question. So in in sports, it's like, how should I phrase it? So in sports, it's like if there's a guy on a team who is completely selfish, it can kind of mess things up. Is it the same? Like, can it be the same?
It is. Industry? Well, it is, but just the way that the structure of kind of the company is built is that essentially everyone's success is built upon everyone else's. Like, you literally cannot qualify for any sort of upward movement if you and your team aren't all moving up. Okay. Like, you can't just be the all-star. You could be that when you're young, like when you're in training at like all that, but by the time you're responsible for a team, the look of the whole business, like the qualifications of what are going to make you in the eyes of other leadership go forward moving, is because you develop teams of people. You keep getting people promoted.
That's a good model. That's a good model to have.
It's awesome, dude. It's the best business model ever. Yeah because it requires you to always think about the other person from a leadership perspective. When you're not a leader, I totally get that, and you shouldn't be, right? You're responsible for yourself. You want to know how to do your job. But by the time you're involved in other people's careers, you're thinking about them so much, because the only way it trickles down to you is if they are successful. And for my bosses as well. So it's definitely unique.
Shout out enterprise, man. See, this is the cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
Corporate
it is cool.
Business structure.
But it's fucking hard, man. It's not easy. And I don't lie to anybody about that. Like, you gotta want it, and it's definitely not for everybody. But if you are the right type of person, I think it's incredibly rewarding. I think for someone at my age, this will sound cocky, but someone in my age, right, 27, the amount of business experience I had, like all aspects of general business, from business ownership to, right, leading, development, scheduling, customer service, like anything like that. I was just talking to Adriana about that, because Adriana just got promoted.
Shout out.
Which I don't know if I got to tell you about. Important. Adriana got promoted, which is fantastic, and it's so deserved. Long deserved.
Yeah.
Is you do, like, you see yourself talk to other people, and you're like, I would not be nervous about any question in any interview in any aspect of business at all. Like, for any level of something that I would be going into, I know for a fact I have a story about being successful in some avenue of that, right? Like, you gotta feel that way as well when you're in something that's like, someone's gonna, like, honestly, you could probably talk to Cootie and not be surprised by anything that he says, because you already know that you have what it takes. You've done so many reps of this, that then you look at someone like who I would look at from a business perspective, like a regional vice president or something, where you're like, all right, that's still like another level of that, right? Like, maybe you couldn't talk to Peter Jackson that way. Right. You'd be like, so how do you even begin to look at this? So there are always things, of course, that you can look at, but I just feel like at my level, talking to another 20-something, young 30-year-old business person, like, yes, I feel extremely confident that I could sit down and talk to you about management style, leadership, business acumen, business philosophy. Like, I have opinions on all of that, but it's only because I chose to put myself through the ringer as much as humanly possible to try to get that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you also subscribe to my mindset too of, like, knowing you're young. Oh, like, I do not lie to myself and wake up every day like, oh man, I'm getting old. No, what? I'm not even I don't think I'll be old for 30 years,
Yeah, Steve Harvey's 65 and he's not old. You know what I'm saying?
That's a mindset.
It's a mindset. It's taking care of yourself. It's knowing your limits. Very important. I've actually heard that,
which I definitely struggle with. I think that's the hardest thing for me, is pulling back.
I've heard that lesson a lot. Like, I've heard it in church and I've heard it in other ways. Like, knowing that you're limited as a person is okay. Like, you don't have to be good at everything. And I think sometimes it's like...
But don't you strive for it, though? I'm good at saying that, but I'm not good at believing
I think that's the trouble with it, right? It's like, we always hear, like, sky's the limit, break ceilings, like, we don't have a glass door. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to break the glass door ceiling, like... But at the same time, we're not perfect.
Review time. Let me start with this. New Doctor Strange sucks.
Yeah.
That movie is trash.
We only got to talk about that.
I fell asleep. I waited until it went on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
We started to watch it together.
It got there fairly quickly.
Oh my God, bro. I was so tired of that movie. Like 40 minutes into it, I was like, all right. Which is crazy because the first one was so good.
It was a classic.
The first Doctor Strange, I'm trying to really think about this. For me, is easily a top 5 of the Marvel movies.
It's incredible.
Easily a top 5. It may be 5, maybe it's 4, but it's in there.
Yeah.
And I remember you feeling the same. All right, you had nothing to say. It's trash.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first Doctor Strange is good because it was simple. It was a simplified version of the multiverse. Now the multiverse has gotten so crazy, bro, that it's just like hard to keep up with.
And I'm not gonna let me say this to Disney if you're watching.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a fan of needing to watch every single show you guys make to watch the movies.
Right.
I didn't like WandaVision.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I did not like WandaVision. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, so I need to have watched WandaVision like in full to get some of these references about who she is and her kids and all that stuff. I was like, that's corny, dude. I don't need. Why do I have to subscribe to your thing?
Disney tried to vertically integrate it, but like, you know, there were so many shows that came out that it's hard to like keep up with, and they're also complicated. WandaVision was complicated. Yeah, like Loki was really good, but like all of them together.
The only thing I really liked out of any of them, for real. Oh no, and I liked what's the Jeremy Renner one? Hawkeye. That's good. Hawkeye really good. And Loki.
I'm telling you, the simplified ones are always the best ones. When it's just like, you know, like the multiverse gets crazy.
I feel like they were just like, how can we make it so that we can have anyone at any time and always create a new storyline?
Exactly.
A multiverse. Anyway, shout out our boy Jeff.
Yeah, Hustle, man.
On Netflix. I'm giving Hustle an A, bro. Yeah, Hustle I really liked Hustle.
Hustle was fire.
It was great.
And a lot of people...
shout out to the city of Philadelphia, man.
Yeah, a lot of hoopers were in there for sure. So a lot of people were able to like get like their acting debuts on that movie, which is really cool. Jeff had a good amount of time in there. Yeah,
he was on the court with Adam Sandler, bro.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. That's awesome. A fact. I remember when he shot it initially. It was during the pandemic.
Right, it was
like in Lancaster. Ago. He was like in Lancaster or something. And I remember him just being like, yo, like Adam Sandler's cool as hell. Like he told him that like he's gonna have a long career in this. Like he sees it, which is crazy. So to see it come out and like, you know, just seeing that like he got like a great amount of time in it, for just being like an extra pretty much, or like a glorified extra. It's like it's really cool, and a lot of people awesome. I knew were in it, so it was cool to see that too.
Did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Nah, that just came out.
Nah,
it's a crazy title.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, it's like a 95% tomato, 89% audience score. It was like, it's literally, I remember when it was coming out, I couldn't see it anywhere. It's such a limited release. And then it went on Amazon Prime.
Ooh, Amazon Prime.
Or I like cracked it somewhere, whatever. If you haven't seen it, it doesn't really matter. Okay. I wouldn't recommend it. Okay. I was very underwhelmed by it, but I also think I had such high expectations going into it. So this is another multiverse. Okay. Multiverse, like, family comedy drama type thing. It's basically like this, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a multiverse thing, but it's an Asian family. So they bring in that whole culture, which is cool. Okay.
Is Awkwafina in it?
No, Awkwafina's not in it.
That's what I'd be
But
thinking.
The girl from, I think it's the girl from, oh man, I don't even want to say the name just in case I'm so wrong. The Rings of Destiny. Well, the Disney one.
Oh,
Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi. Yeah,
is that it? Whatever it is? I'm sorry. I'm going to make up something.
Shang-Chi.
The girl from that. Okay. Do you remember his like counterpart, his sister? Yeah. I think that's who this is. Yeah. Shang-Chi. Wasn't really a huge fan of it. It was a very original take on basically like you don't realize that one of the family members is coming from another dimension to save the family from itself, essentially. And it gets cool, but it's very like it gets a little convoluted and slow and just kind of crazy, but it's interesting. But it's also like I think it was almost 2.5 hours long. It was just like way too long. Yeah. Hold on. And then there was one more thing before we got to the big
Wasn't that kind of the premise of Interstellar too? Where he was able to like...
You know what? I never watched Interstellar.
Really?
But I watched Inception with Adriana for the first time last night. Yeah. Which she said she actually liked it, which I was shocked. Yeah. I fell asleep.
Because this multiverse thing has been around for a long time. It's just changed forms. Like, just going back in time.
I don't know if anything's better than Inception, though.
Yeah, Inception is the best example of it, for sure.
For being so complicated and told so well.
Yeah. Spider-Man is up there.
The Spider-Man is definitely up there.
No Way Home is up there, for sure. But yeah, a lot of Interstellar is up there too. You should watch it.
All right, maybe I'll watch that with Adriana then, because that is one that I've never seen from before.
Just you're able to go back in time in some form and try to stop a certain event from happening. You know, that's always been experimented with. But
so now there's 2 current movies that we have to talk about.
Okay.
The first one we got to talk about is Top Gun. Oof. Top Gun. Listen to me. Everyone, listen to me. I know it's already made $1 billion in the box office, and I still feel like there's so many people that I talk to who have not seen the movie and are like not into it. And I don't know how that's possible. The first Top Gun is a classic. This second one is still like just as great.
Man,
it's some of the best action. Honestly, probably since I see like Mission Impossible. It's like I don't think they make action movies like that anymore that are really good.
The cinematography. So like cinematography in terms of like how the shots look, how they feel, the angles, like the experimentation of the shots, especially when they're in the jet, when they're in the jets, and like how they make that feel. It's like, oh man, it pays. Like, I think when we saw it, we said it like it pays a perfect amount of homage to the original without like being OD, because the original is such a classic, and it was such a classic that I had never watched it, but I knew exactly what it was like.
You've never seen the first one?
I didn't seen it before then. No.
Really? When we saw the second one?
Yeah, I'd never seen it. I'd only heard of it. Like I knew the character. I knew Tom. That was one of Tom Cruise's first big movies. Yeah. Like probably what broke him through. Like that and Risky Business because of the dance. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I already knew of it, but I never actually watched it in full.
Did you go back and watch the first one?
Yeah.
So what'd you think?
Incredible.
First of all, isn't Val Kilmer one of the most handsome men on planet Earth? And then you see him in this movie and you're like,
Iceman.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, we forget Val Kilmer also played Batman at one point.
Right.
So Val Kilmer he's a legend.
I love Miles Teller. Philly boy. I love Miles
Is he from
Teller.
Philly?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I was
Maybe
very
Tri-State?
sure until you said now. I mean, he's always at Philly's games, rocking Philly's
Maybe
gear.
He's from Philly. Maybe he's from Jersey or something.
You know, whatever. Like, we're from Jersey, but it's
That's
Philly.
Cool,
you know, something like
man.
that.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, Miles Teller's the man.
I didn't know that.
I was watching a lot of stuff with him, but I was just shocked how, like, they were really in those planes. Like, it's from the perspective of them doing it, but, like, he was taking real G-forces.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise was really training them.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is a maniac,
No, Tom Cruise is the definition of a Hollywood action actor. Like, he's
a living legend. I don't think we take Tom Cruise for granted because of, like, the Scientology crazy stuff that people write him off for, but, like, for what Tom Cruise does, I don't think there's anybody better.
No. I mean, it's just a lost art, honestly. Everything's CGI now.
And he's the only one who can sell it.
There's stunt doubles, but it's like him, Jackie Chan used to do that kind of stuff, like scaling sides of walls, like just things that like he probably didn't need to do, but we're glad he did it because it makes it that much more authentic.
Dude.
But yeah, Top Gun Maverick was incredible. I actually saw it twice.
Did you go back and see it again?
I did.
You go with Karina?
No, who did I see it again? And I don't think it was Karina. I forget. I think I just did it on my own. Yeah, that was just a solo joint. Yeah, because I was so like, I just everything from the start to finish, I was tapped in. And that's hard to do. That's hard to do with a lot of movies. I was tapped in start to finish, like, you know what I'm saying? So
I would say Top Gun is probably the best movie that I've seen in a while. But Elvis,
man, I don't know. First of all, what's your scale? What's your grade? What do you give it?
The movie?
Yeah.
The whole movie, I'd give it like a B+.
Yeah, that's about what I was gonna say.
I don't. It's not an A. It's not an A. I think a B. I think B is fair, but B+, I give it the plus strictly off of Austin Butler's performance.
Yeah.
Like that and the wardrobe. Whoever was the costume designer in that movie,
I was gonna say that.
God bless you.
Yeah,
I mean,
incredible.
It was tremendous. What he was wearing, I was like, how am I not laughing at him? Like, I take him seriously walking around in this stuff all day.
Yeah.
My takeaways are, so Baz Luhrmann, who also did like Moulin Rouge, it's a very unique director style. I don't even know if you call it that. It's just like a strict, maybe it's the cinematography, imagery, color. It's just you do kind of feel like you're in this acid trip of a world, which is how he does it. So I was very nervous when he was doing it because if this is a biopic, I didn't want to feel like I was tripping balls for 2.5 hours. Like, I know he goes all in. In the beginning, I got really nervous because it starts off that way. And I was like, fast. If this is how this is going to be, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Yeah. Because I'm looking for like the J. Edgar Hoover. I'm looking for Darkest Hour, Gary Oldman type. I'm like something like that, where this amazing, this character-driven performance is what's going to make me fall in love, not the way the movie is told.
Right.
I didn't really like the storyline because I did not like Tom Hanks in this movie, bro.
Really? Ooh, that's a bold take there.
And it's only because, one, the story's told from his perspective. Right? I'm trying to do this without spoilers, just in case by the time this comes out, anybody hasn't seen it. It's told in his perspective, and we never figure out who he is. Like, I'll put it that way, which I really didn't like. I felt like that was the ultimate mystery, and then in the end, it was still just like, and we still don't know.
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck do you mean you don't know? Like, who? I waited this whole time for you to not tell me who this person is? That pissed me off.
Gotcha.
But also, Tom Hanks, which is not Tom Hanks' fault, but with certain stars in movies, he never left being Tom Hanks for me. He always was Tom Hanks the whole movie. He never turned into this character, which I get is a very hard thing to do when you're that famous. But, like, I lost him in Captain Phillips. Right, these certain in Forrest Gump, like certain things like that. You're like, oh, you're this other person, and it never turned. Mr. Rogers,
yeah,
right. He turned magical, and it just didn't do it for me this time around. All that being said, Austin Butler's performance of being Elvis is incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, when I found out that I think he was auditioning against Harry Styles. God, I forget.
Which one didn't make sense? I'm glad they didn't.
It didn't make sense, but it was other people, like Rami Malek,
like bigger names.
Yeah, huge, whatever, A-list celebrities. And Austin Butler's someone I've never seen. I would know his name maybe, but I've never seen him before. Really amazing performance. He really sang like. It made me go do a deep dive into listening to Elvis, which I never knew. I really love Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis is fire.
Elvis is a rock star, man. He's the highest selling solo artist of all time, which I looked into because I was like, that's Drake. But
yeah, it's Elvis.
What's amazing is he is the highest selling solo artist of pure units, like physical copies. He sold 1.5 billion. Let that sink in. That's 500 million more than Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
We're just going to leave that at that. That's crazy. But Drake, crazy. In terms... I forget how they reclassified it, but in that streaming sector...
Yeah, Drake's king.
Because you don't sell physical albums anymore, that's Drake. But it's two different things.
I'm sure they combined it with Drake, physical and streaming.
Yeah, but everything... Because I really looked into this because I couldn't believe it. Everything they're saying is... There's nothing more impressive than what Elvis did. Yeah. To move that much physical hardware to people... You have to go
with your money and buy it. And get this physical,
which I gotta believe, bro. Drake. Like, how many of those streams are just in playlists?
Right.
Just in a club somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of inflated a little bit.
In the movie, when they were like which I did appreciate, his business guy. What was the Tom Hanks's character? Colonel. They call him the Colonel.
Yeah,
whatever.
The Colonel. Yeah.
Like, he was the guy who basically did the first televised show.
Well, they call him the father of show business.
Yeah, he got 1.8 billion people to watch across the world consecutively on TV, which is incredible.
Colonel Thomas Andrew Parker. So Colonel Parker.
Colonel Parker. Yeah. So that's where it is for me. Austin Butler was tremendous. The way the story was told, I wasn't really a fan. I wasn't completely sold on Tom Hanks, but I really enjoyed it. And I think biopics are really hard to enjoy. It's not Bohemian Rhapsody.
Nah.
But it's good.
It'll be hard to top Bohemian Rhapsody. But all right, so let me start
Beefsteak. There we go.
Let me start here, man. So, to preface it, obviously, these are my favorite kind of movies. I love biopic reenactments, like not the actual documentary, but somebody like portraying this person, right? So, off rip, I was hyped. Because just off the trailer alone, the trailer was incredible.
Great trailer.
So I'll start off with what I didn't like. So you alluded to it. The first 5 to 10 minutes, just like, it's like literally it's like an acid trip. It's just like, it weaves in and out of his whole career. Like, they're like, because you're right, the story is told through Colonel Parker's perspective. And the first part of the movie, they really try to tell you who he is, but it happens so fast and there's so many visual effects that it's just like, what the heck just happened? Like, the movie doesn't actually really begin until we see Elvis as a kid. That's when it actually slows down and you get to see, like, you get to breathe a little. The first part was like, we found out he was an immigrant, he had a gambling problem. Like, it started when he was like in his later life, then it went like, it was just so much. And I didn't like that because, like, I have been a fan of Elvis. I have like watched a lot of his videos. Like, I've been a fan of the music. I didn't know who Colonel Parker was, but also, like, Elvis isn't our age demographic, so it's like, I actually went with my mom and grandma, and my grandma knew who he was.
That's awesome. You went with them to go see it?
So my grandma knew who Colonel Parker was. My mom even, like, heard of it, so I was like, okay, he's a big deal. I'm just too young to even, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that first 5 to 10 minutes are crucial because it's like, somebody like, people like us, we don't know who this guy is. You know what I'm saying? So, like, throughout the movie, I'm kind of like doing my little Wikipedia, like, all right, who's this guy? So we know that he's his business manager and that he took over half of Elvis's income throughout the entirety of his career, which is, like, unheard of.
They literally called it, like, financial abuse.
No, yeah, abuse.
It's like a crime.
They say that this man is the reason why Elvis died so early, because Elvis died at 40-something.
42.
He was not old at all. He was really young. And you see how he looked. Like, it looked like he was, like, in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of his career.
Oh, at the end of his career, yeah.
They attribute that to this guy because, like you said, he did invent modern show business, which is, like, you perform, you get paid, there's merchandise, there's bobbleheads, like, you do these tours, international tours, like, TV appearances. Like, he's the one that kind of, like, first orchestrated all of that. Right, so in the movie, he constantly says, "I made Elvis," which is true. Like, he crafted it and he molded it into what people have seen. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give him that credit. But what the movie didn't do is, like, showcase, one, how he was an illegal immigrant, which is a main plot line because it ends up being the reason that. Well, I don't want to give it away, but
right.
Like, it plays a major part. It's the biggest
question mark, and you don't get any relief off.
Because the whole thing is Elvis is trying to, like, go international and he can't,
right? And
we don't know why, but then we find out why. You know what I'm saying? But the first 5 to 10 minutes, it goes so fast that you don't even get to hear a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I don't know why the director chose to do that, because it's like, Colonel Parker in history is considered, like, kind of like a villain in a lot of ways, especially, like, somebody as beloved as Elvis. Like, this is the anti-hero of it. This is again, people blame him for Elvis dying. So I don't know why they breezed through that part. That was crazy. I'm all for the effects and all. It looked cool, but it was just hard to follow after a while. I'm just like, whatever. I did like Tom Hanks in it, but now that you said what you said, I kind of see what you mean in terms of, like, he never, like, transformed into the Colonel, but at the same time, we didn't know who he was anyway. So it's like, it's only natural for us to do that. When he played Mr. Rogers, or even when he played Walt Disney in Saving Mr. Banks, so, like, we knew who these guys were. So it's like, I think it had a little more gravity in those moments, you know,
right.
Captain Phillips and all that. So I will say that because we didn't know who Colonel Parker was, it's harder to like
get rid of Tom Hanks, because I don't know who this guy is
exactly.
Anyway. Yeah.
So I'll say that. So that, and in the movie was almost 3 hours too. So there was a little part of it where I got lost, which is why I want to see it again.
30 minutes too long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, because a typical movie is like 120 pages, so a minute a page. This was probably like 150. Which is long, which is a really long movie. Those are my gripes. Now, the positives, obviously, Austin Butler, incredible. And I was telling you before we went on, like, I think he's actually, like, a little more handsome than Elvis was. Like, because if you look at Elvis, like, he was skinny, but he had, like, big cheeks. Like, it was a little, like, he was a little more filled. Like, Austin Butler is, like, chiseled. Like, just... Yeah. Like, I was just watching
Chin from God.
Yeah, I was like watching his GQ interview, like Things I Can't Live Without. I'm like, dang, like, he actually looks like a little, like, if he was Elvis, like, I think it actually might have been a little crazier back then. But he was incredible. In doing research like you did, like he plays the guitar already, he sang, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a perfect fit. And that's why I want to highlight the casting director. The casting director deserves an Oscar because he was the perfect person for that. Even like everybody that they got, like the lady that played Priscilla Presley, like she was good. Like everybody, like like when like my favorite thing about these movies is like you can go back and like actually compare footage. You can compare pictures, so it's like it makes it that much, you know, it makes it that much more visceral for you. So like when I'm comparing pictures, I'm like, dang, that's actually how they looked. That's actually how they sounded. Like, so shout out to the casting director. First of all, shout out to Austin Butler. You were you were Elvis, bro.
Did you know? I didn't know this. I just want to say this in between because my mom told me this after the fact.
Yeah.
You know that Elvis met Priscilla when she was 14?
Yeah, they were 10 years apart.
They were 10 years apart.
He met her when he was stationed somewhere.
Yeah, like he like waited. Which, in all honesty, is the same thing Jay-Z did when he met Beyonce. Let's just be real about this, okay? So it's creepy, but people fucking do it, okay?
That's a fact.
I was like, what? Because in the movie, honestly, in the movie, when she came up, I was like, who is this incredible, beautiful woman?
Yeah.
Who, by the way, like, never turns into... Like, she's just in the movie as this unbelievably beautiful, dark hair white lady.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I have such trouble in those moments. I'm like, I get that it's Elvis. I'm like, you're telling me you're going to throw it all away and this woman is in love with you?
Right. Yeah.
She like never extrapolates on it or whatever.
Yeah.
But the whole movie, my mom was just like, she was like 17.
Which
this
is
like
one
this is like a 28-year-old woman.
That's one of the criticisms that they had was that they didn't really make light of that. They mentioned it in the movie, like when they broke up. Elvis was like, well, when I'm 50, you'll be 40 and we'll be back together. Like, that's the only time they allude to it. But that was actually a big deal back then. Yeah. Like, she was 10 years. She was a teenager.
Yes.
And he was well into being Elvis by that time.
Sorry, go ahead. What else did you like?
I forgot. The only other thing I didn't like is they like glanced over all of Elvis's big moments, in my opinion. Like first television appearance when he does Hound Dog, big moment, Jailhouse Rock. Like we don't really hear that. And these are like the foundational points of Elvis's career, and we barely see that.
They went all in on the Christmas special, though. They clearly chose
which
one
was
thing.
A big moment. Yeah. They went all in on the Christmas special and then the last performance when he was in Vegas, because those are very world famous things. But his first time on the Ed Sullivan Show when he does Hound Dog and he does the dance for the first time,
right? Like
you remember that scene in Forrest Gump when he does that? Like more time should have been spent on that. More time on like some of the movies he did, like Viva Las Vegas, like Jailhouse Rock. These are important things, and I feel like they just glanced over it because they wanted to get to the bullshit, pretty much.
See, and I just felt like all of that is true. I wasn't aware of the. I guess I felt like I heard the song, so I felt like it was there.
Yeah.
Whether it was performance, but I was more intrigued that like maybe it's sad because it's what he's known for in the end. But I was like, they didn't really hit on all the abuse and the addiction and all that. I mean, in the end they do, but it's very much more made in light of him being a victim of that circumstance, that he never drank, right? Like his mom basically drank herself to death. His dad just wasn't smart. He just wasn't well equipped to be in that light and really help his son. Yeah. He was just always going to be a pawn in someone else's game.
Yeah.
And I felt like they kind of just clobbled his death together in the end. It's this very like thing. Yeah. When the whole time I was like, doesn't Elvis get like really fat?
Yeah, it was a
ugly?
slow
I was like,
decline.
even when he was dying, I was like, he doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, it was a slow decline. And I think that that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think they actually didn't villainize Colonel Parker enough. Because it's like, you gotta think, like Elvis was clean cut, didn't do anything, didn't do any drugs. Like the reason why a lot of these famous people end up doing that is because of the pressures of fame. It's not because they just love coke and whatever. Like, this is what the pressures of fame do. Somebody in Elvis's shoes, he was actually being prescribed those things because he was being worked so much. They had to do all those things. So eventually you get addicted. Right. So it's not something that he just chose to do just because I'm this world famous rock star. It's like, no, he had to because he was working 300 nights a year. Yeah. And Colonel Parker wouldn't let the man breathe at all. He was taking more than half of his money, right? So Elvis was always going to be broke. Like, think about all the records he sold, all the tours he did, all the merch he sold, and maybe Elvis saw 20% of that.
It's crazy.
Because if Colonel took 50%,
yeah,
the other 50% goes to Elvis and the team, to the label. Like, Elvis is maybe seeing 15% of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a crime. And ultimately, he got addicted to all the medication that he took. So now you can't live without it. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't function without it.
And he was given it by Parker.
Exactly.
From the perspective of the movie.
Exactly.
But, I mean, right, that's what people say, right? Is that he was like, so you need to keep going, so this is what we're going to give you to keep going, and you're going to take it when you get up, you take it when you go to bed.
Because he was going to be like, all right, well, if you don't want to be in business with me, then now you owe me all this money that you don't have, because I took all of the money anyway. Like, I don't know. I feel like they could have villainized Colonel Parker more, because I do feel like he was he's just selfish, bro. Like, he didn't really care. Like, he used Elvis in a lot of ways, and Elvis was a giver by heart. He was a good person by heart. But that's what fame does, is like money and fame, it drives you to these unreachable depths that you can't really get out of, man. So it's like, I do look at Elvis as a victim in that, because it's like, you know, he became addicted, and two, it's like, when you reach that level of fame, bro, it's like, what else are you gonna do? Like, at that point, you're just trying to survive, and you're trying to just like keep your reputation and love for the fans. So,
but so what's your like grade? Like, what are you giving it?
I say a B+, just because, again, Austin Butler killed it. It was incredible. I do want to watch it again, because there are parts that I missed, but I also feel like there's certain things that could have been done better. But that's also the byproduct of like taking liberties as a director to just be creative. Like, you know, it's just an opinion. Like, it was a great movie. And
I think that in the end, when Baz Luhrmann does something, the direction almost becomes a character.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that it didn't do that the whole time.
Yeah,
but it was an element of it.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, like, my whole thoughts and feelings, like, the reason I would recommend it is really based off of Austin Butler's performance.
You gotta watch it.
If that performance didn't hit,
yeah,
that I think the movie could have been a bomb.
And what I encourage people to do is watch it and then watch actual footage, and then it'll give it more of like a gravitas, because I think like you'll understand why it was such a good performance.
But you'd recommend to see it?
Hell yeah, I'm gonna try to see it again.
But I would say, see Top Gun before you see that.
Oh yeah, Top Gun is the movie of the summer so far. That's the first thing, and then after that, see Elvis, and then maybe Thor. We'll see.
And Thor, and I gotta watch it. But you're telling me The Offer.
The Offer. Look, last thing I'll say. Everybody knows about The Godfather. The Offer is a miniseries about how The Godfather was made, which is just as legendary as the movie. And and if you haven't watched The Godfather, it's gonna make you want to watch it and appreciate it. And now I'm all Godfathered out. Like, I'm all in on Godfather. Like, everything Godfather. It's one of those things.
Thank you for watching, listening.
Yes, sir.
Subscribing to the Stop Snitching podcast. Until next time. Oh, and by the way, it's strictly B now.
Yeah, just call me B.
Just call him B.
If Steve Harvey did it, y'all gotta do it. No excuses.